Algebra 2, 9B remediation review video. Very similar to the summative review or test review. And we'll be going through the odds again. You'll have the evens for your own to do. Number 1, find sine given that tangent is negative 3/5, and we are in quadrant 4. Quadrant 4, which means cosine should be positive and sine should be negative at the end. So, lots of different, or multiple different ways to get there. Multiple different ways to get there. We could go to secant first with this formula, and then change secant to cosine, and then use cosine to get to sine. So that'd be one reciprocal and then two formulas. I think I'm going to do tangent to cotangent right away. Use this one to get to cosecant, and then do a reciprocal at the end to get me to sine. So that'd be two reciprocals in one formula. Your choice. So if tangent is negative 3/5, cotangent is negative 5/3. And then I'm going to do the cotangent to cosecant formula. So negative 5/3 squared plus 1 equals cosecant squared. Okay, common mistake from the first test. Negative parentheses squared comes out as a positive. And I'm going to change my 1 to have a common denominator. So we're going to go 9 over 9. And that's going to be this, we're going to have don't skip a step. We'll go 34 over 9 equals cosecant squared. And then we're going to come in and do the square root. Okay? Can't really do much with 34, so we'll leave it alone. I'm going to leave a plus minus on the front of it for now. We'll come back later and take care of that. The square root of 9 is 3. That's cosecant. Okay, if I want to go to sine, we're going to flip it. Plus minus 3 over the square root of 34. Then we're going to fix our radical. Say sine. So we have plus minus 3, radical 34 over regular 34. And we're in quadrant 4. So sine is negative. So we're going to have negative 3 radical 34 over regular 34. Okay, so we got a chance to do two reciprocals in one formula in the middle, or you could do formula, reciprocal formula, up to you. Up to you. Two should be pretty similar. Okay, 3 on the quiz and on the test, and on the retake test, we've had at least one problem that was a very straightforward solving one, very similar to this. Okay, so it's very straightforward. It's like one step, and then we're going at it. So we're going to divide by 2, and we have sine squared equals a half. And then we're going to square root. And when I square root a half, we're doing the square root of 1 and the square root of 2. The square root of 1 is 1. And the square root of 2 stays. I can't do the square root of 2. And then we fix it. Radical 2 to the top and the bottom. And we'll have plus minus radical 2 over regular 2. Now, where does that happen? On the closed interval, one time around the circle. That should be at all of our pi over 4s. 1 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. Okay, that square root of a half popped up on the test, on the quiz. I'd be looking for that square root of half again on a retake. You know, I can't make any promises, but it seems to be a popular question. Okay, number 4, we had one similar to that. It's going to be that cotangent one, and then you're going to have to either know your tangent and cotangent rules, or you're going to have to go back and check it with cosine divided by sine for cotangent. Or you could use cotangent formula and switch it to something like cosecant, which then switches to sine, and that might be something more familiar to you from the unit circle. Number 5. We have solving one that requires some sort of a substitution. On the quiz and on the test, it was a substitution in here, and then you had to distribute a negative. On the reviews, it's been a nice one here with this square root. It's going to, or not square root, but this combo goes to 1. Okay? So we have to recognize a chance to substitute and solve. So we're going to subtract that 1 over, and then we'll divide by 2. Okay, cosine is our left and right. Negative a half would be just a little bit to the left, and that would be 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. Again, just a closed interval. Nothing crazy going on. Okay, and again, the one that we had on the quiz and on the test, it was like cosine squared, sine squared, regular cosine, but it was a minus here, so it couldn't just go to 1. And we had to substitute in, and then distribute that negative sign. Okay, because this is a plus, this works out really nice for us, because it's cosine squared plus sine squared is 1. If it was a minus, it wouldn't be 1. You'd have to get sine squared by itself, change them all to cosines, and then you'd have that minus there, so you'd have to distribute that minus, if you remember that from the test and the quiz. Onward. Number 7, for all values. So we've got tangent squared equals 1 minus secant. Okay? I don't have a formula to change secant to tangents, but I do have a formula to change tangent squared to secant. We're going to subtract that 1 over, and tangent squared should be secant squared minus 1 equals 1 minus secant minus 1 plus secant plus secant. Now it's important to keep track of secant squared versus regular secant, so you don't put those two together. So we actually have secant squared plus secant minus 1 is minus 2. Okay, so these are kind of like our x's. This is x squared plus 1x minus 2. What multiplies to negative 2 and adds to positive 1? 2 times negative 1 and 2 plus negative 1. So we'll have secant plus 2, secant minus 1. What makes each spot equal 0? If secant was negative 2 or if secant was 1. Alright, now I don't know secant on the unit circle, so I'm going to flip it back. Secant flips to cosine. So cosine would equal negative 1 over 2, and 1 over 1 is still going to be 1. So negative a half, and then positive 1. And these are actually 0 pi, 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3. Those are 2 pi over 3 apart. So we can do one thing. We can do 0 pi plus 2 pi over 3 times n. Last one. Number 9. Cotangent squared minus cosecant squared over secant equals negative cosine. Now I know we're supposed to work the more complicated side to make it look like the easier side. Okay? Negative cosine. This is a tough one. Alright, well, I'm kind of seeing cosine and secant, and that secant and cosine are reciprocals. So if I had 1 over secant, it would flip to cosine. If I had negative 1 on top over secant, it would flip to negative cosine. So I'm going to look at this and see what I can do with this, if I can get a negative 1 out of there. The formula is cotangent squared plus 1 equals cosecant squared. So I'm just going to do this on the side. Okay, we have cotangent squared minus cosecant squared. So if I subtract that over, so now I have cotangent squared minus cosecant squared, and then I have that plus 1 equals 0. And if I subtract that 1 over, we got negative 1. So cotangent squared minus cosecant squared is negative 1. And negative 1 over secant would be negative cosine. Okay, on number 10, it's going to be tempting to go 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. I think you could do it that way. You could also do, I'm trying to find where my answer key went. We could also do factoring this out on the bottom, and you could do like a difference of squares on the top. So you got 2 different options here. You could do that substitution first, then continue on, maybe cancel out a cosine. Or you could do difference of squares on the top, still pull out the cosine and see what happens. Okay? I think either way you go, you're going to have to split your fraction apart to make those. Alright. Best of luck. Let me know if you need any help.